Hi, my name is Gabrielle. I'm an application specialist here at Mimaki. In this month's tips and tricks, I'll be guiding you through a holiday application creation with the TS100 1600. So without further ado, let's get started.
So let's start off by creating a new layer. Next, we're going to go over to our rectangle tool, and here we are going to create one 6-inch by 57-inch rectangle. Next, we're going to duplicate the rectangle to make a total of 3 rectangles. And as I mentioned before, these rectangle strips will be used to create the wreath. So when working with more than one design element here, I always like to put each element in its own separate layer. So here I'm just copying and pasting each element in its own layer or independent layer. Now we're going to move on to fill in each rectangle with a pattern. This is done by choosing a pattern of your liking. Here we're going to select the stripe pattern. Next we're going to go over to object, go down to pattern, then select make, hit OK, and in the pattern dialog box we're going to keep the settings as is, and we're going to make sure that we check the box that says tile art size. So in the swatch panel, we can find our new pattern. Next, we're going to go over to object, transform, and here we can resize our pattern to our liking. Here they have the transfer objects box checked. So we're going to uncheck that box because we don't want to resize our object. We want to resize the pattern. So after doing so, we're going to hit select OK. Now we're going to move on to the second element or the second rectangle, and here we're going to use the clip it mask instead of the pattern tool. I think the pattern that I chose isn't repeatable, so here I'm just going to show you how to use the clipping mask. So what you want to do is make sure that the object that you want to clip is on top of the graphics, and so here I'm just dragging the snowflake graphics behind the rectangle object. And here I just want to make sure that the graphics is a little bit larger than the clipping path. Next I'm going to hold down Control and 7 on the keyboard, and this will clip my graphics to the indicated object. So last but not least, we are going to fill our third rectangle with a pattern. So just following the previous steps that I mentioned before, we are going to fill it with a pattern. So after creating the graphics for the wreath, we're going to move on to creating the bow. And here we're going to create 2 3-inch by 57-inch rectangle objects. And we're going to do the same thing, which is fill both rectangles with the pattern. So as I mentioned before, go to object, pattern, select make, and then you're going to select the swatch within the swatch panel to fill each rectangle object. After creating your desired graphics, it's always good to get rid of unwanted layers or hide certain layers, as well as reorganizing your artwork within the artboard before saving your file. Once the file appears in the job list, I will then click the quality icon, and under quality I can choose the media profile and resolution. The media profile that I'm choosing is Beaver Paper's text print MP paper, and for the resolution I'll just select medium resolution. We're going to click the general print icon. Here we can make edits to your file as needed. Also check the box by reverse. By doing this, the text will be right reading when sublimated. I also like to arrange my graphics in the center, and then I'm going to also rotate the graphics 90 degrees so that it will fit the width of the paper. And now it's time to print. For this application, I'll be using the TS100, which is our entry-level die submachine, which is ideal for first-time users or hobbyists who enjoys, creating custom and personalized goods. So at an affordable price, you can get this machine, which can handle everything from sample creation to large production while ensuring high quality results. For the finishing process, I'm using a cleaver calendar heat press to sublimate my graphics. The heat press is set to 393 degrees Fahrenheit. And one of the things I love about calendar heat presses are you can either feed roll to roll fabrics or either cut pieces with ease. Moving into the cut and sew process, I'm going to start off by folding the strip along the long edge, right sides together. Then I'm going to use sewing clips to clip the fabric in place. Next, I'm going to head over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew one short end and the long edges with a 1/4 seam allowance. With pinking shears, I'm going to cut the corners and snip along the long edge. And once that's done, I'm going to turn the fabric inside out. To stuff the wreath tubes, we'll be using a fiber fill. You can find fiber fill at any local retail store like Joann's, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Walmart, you name it. But inside of the fill, they give you a wooden stuffing tool. I highly recommend using this tool to stuff these tubes. So let's get started. So starting off, we're going to make sure that we leave about 2 inches on each end without filling to reduce bulking when joining all edges together. And then we're going to begin generously filling the fabric wreath with the fabric fill, or fiber fill, excuse me. The finished wreath should be a bit stiff but not too fluffy. And voila, we have 3 fabric tubes to work with. Now you want to fold the fabric of the open short ends to the inside about 1/2 inch, and you want to stitch to close the openings. So you want to pin the short end of all 3 tubes together and stitch. Then you want to braid the stuffed wreath tubes together and then shape the braid into a circle for the wreath. Next, you're going to hand stitch both ends together, closing off the braid into a circle. To create the bow, you're going to grab 2 fabric strips and place them right sides together, and you're going to stitch all around with a 1/4 seam allowance, leaving a small gap at the middle of one of those long edges for turning right side out. Taking fabric scissors, you're going to clip your corners, and then you're going to turn your bow right side out, and then you're going to press it flat. Next, you're going to hand stitch or machine stitch the open and close, and then you can decide if you want the bow to be placed at the bottom or the top of the wreath. And there you have it, a decorative, stylish, festive wreath for this holiday season. Thanks for watching.